Welcome, my 179 subscribers, everyone who hasn't given up yet on the show, even if it is looking a bit bad. I'm just gonna have to start off with that to set up people's expectations of the review. But yeah, welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite for the September 14 show. Let's begin. So we start off with the match between Jon Moxley and Sammy Guevara. So this is a tournament match. They go for about 13 minutes, 12 to 13 minutes. This match started out pretty good. It's established that Moxley is stronger and like the superior wrestler, so he no-sells some of Sammy's offense. And the only way that Sammy hurt him is by doing outside dives, doing the flippy shit, and not going for a straightforward wrestling match. Because Mox was built incredibly strong, and Sammy Guevara has been on Rampage. So yeah, Sammy is sort of like the underdog heel of the match, and that's okay. The crowd wasn't very loud, and I can't really blame them because the first 7 minutes of the match starts out pretty slow. The first high impact move doesn't happen until 7 minutes into the match, and the first strike that Guevara throws that actually damages Moxley doesn't happen until 6 minutes into the match. So yeah, the intro part of the match, the part before everything goes wild, isn't that bad. I've seen worse, like a match that comes after this. It does tell a story, but it's not very exciting. The crowd wasn't very loud as well. It does pick up speed. It does increase gear, but it happens at the 9th to 10th minute of the match. We have some cool moves by Guevara, some nice counters by Moxley, like this GTH into a bulldog choke and also a GTH into the finish. But the crowd does chant "This is awesome" after a Spanish fly by Sammy, and this is one of the most undeserving "This is awesome" chants ever, I think. The match was pretty much devoid of drama. They go for an avalanche German suplex. That looks like it's staged because pretty much Sammy jumps, and it actually looks like he was gonna counter it. He was gonna land on his feet, but he ends up taking the bump, and it's not the best looking spot of the match. And then we have Anna Jay and Tay Conchi, Tay Mello, go and do a distraction spot. Tay low blows Mox, and then Sammy takes advantage of this. He goes for the pin, but then Mox kicks out. And so he goes for a swanton bomb. Mox dodges. Mox goes for a cattle mutilation pin. It almost looks like a shittier seatbelt, but Sammy kicks out. They have a strike exchange with an awesome knee by Sammy, super kick, and then he goes for a GTH, but then Mox counters it into the Death Rider and then ends the match. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, as for spots of the match, it's the reverse dirty deeds on the apron. That's number 3. As for number 2, it's the cutter by Sammy where he does a springboard and then a cutter. And then number 1 is the counter to the GTH leading to a bulldog choke. This should have been the finish. It looks so much better than the actual finish itself. Mox just breaks out of the fucking GTH and then hits Sammy with his finisher. It's just a bit too common, it's a bit too overplayed to be the better GTH counter. I think the bulldog choke would have been a nice finish to a GTH. It just looks more seamless than the Death Rider does. And the interference, thank God it was just the one. And yeah, that's okay. So yeah, Moxley wins. He moves on to the tournament. After a pretty average match, this is TV undercard quality. I think I enjoyed the Brody King match better. This just ain't it, Chief. Moxley needs opponents who sell really well, who can do slow and dramatic, just like CM Punk and MJF, I think. So yeah, and then after this we get MJF's promo, and it's a direct response to Mox's victory. And I think this was badly placed. I think they should have happened a couple of segments after this, maybe after the next match, because it's almost like Mox leaves and then comes across MJF as he's making his way to the ring, so that would make things awkward and kind of not make sense a little bit. There should have been a fight backstage unless MJF like stealthed his way into the ring, which I think he didn't. But commentary does give us a reason. They use the reason that Mox like went straight to the showers after the match, and MJF is like cutting this, and Mox is not hearing it. And yeah, this is like what AEW does best, like explaining things, explaining loopholes. But you could have easily avoided this if you just had this take place later on in the show. It could retain viewers and be like better for the show as a whole. But yeah, as for the promo itself, MJF sort of has this thing now where he like looks at the camera, yells loudly. There's a bit of danger in that. There's a bit of danger in diluting that moment where he destroyed the shit out of Tony Khan. And if you do that all the time, it loses its impact. So I think MJF should stop doing this. Or people are just gonna say that he's like rehashing, doing the same thing, but the promo is still like really good. It's MJF. And it's like a truly evil promo where he brings up Mox's childhood. He said he read his book. So I guess that's what he's been doing for like the last couple of months. He's been doing some research on his possible opponents. But yeah, he cites Mox's childhood and then he makes fun of Mox's alcoholism. And you could say that this is the lowest hanging fruit, that this is like easy pickings for MJF. But yeah, the way he does it here is like so savage. And like just the way he like disregards the humanity of the audience. He calls someone fat like in front. And yeah, he doesn't give a shit. He will do everything to like destroy you, not only mentally, but also like the people you love. MJF is kind of like Flowey from Undertale. If he manages to like deliver right here. Like for example, if either Danielson or Moxley win, I hope they bring in either Brie Bella or Renee Paquette and just have MJF torment the shit out of her. Have him like crucify her just like the Ministry of Darkness with Stephanie. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Like bring some of that shit back. Have him like do the whipping on Mox just like he did with Wardlow and Cody. Like have him do this, but instead of like being in pain or like no selling it, have Mox just enjoy the shit out of it. That'll be really funny. But that's kind of hard to do because Mox has a crew, he has a faction with him. So I wonder how they'll bring the Blackpool Combat Club into this feud. And it has to be like MJF's faction, right? Like the Firm against BCC. Like it would only make sense. And about the Firm, they show up next. MJF like introduces them, but he leaves the ring. It's kind of funny. I think he did it to like give them the stage, give them the spotlight, but it would have helped if MJF was there. So it'll be like his faction. Have him introduce the guys, have him like smile at Stokely or something, give them orders, have them target specific people. And yeah, that would have been a lot cooler than what transpired. Because what we had is just like Stokely Hathaway saying that he's everyone's friend and then aiming very low. Okay, so what Stokely does here is like pretty shit. First of all, he distances himself and the faction away from MJF, saying that whenever MJF needs him, they'll be there. But if not, they're gonna go their separate ways. So there's already like a distance between MJF and the faction. I think this is a bad choice. MJF will get these guys over if they're like an actual faction. But instead, they're more of like mercenaries. And we already have the Butcher and the Blade for that, so we don't need this faction to be this. And Stokely doesn't even say anything like special. He says that he's a blackmailer and that turns him on. And this was pretty shit. So what does your faction do exactly? Just like be hired guns? And then the goals that he sets are like super low. And yeah, who the hell have you blackmailed? How did you help MJF by blackmail? Why not just have them as a faction with MJF being the leader? This is so fucking dumb. The crowd was silent. They weren't having any of this. So first, he just gives Morrissey a hug. He doesn't even give him like a goal. He's just an enforcer, and I think he has like the biggest potential because he's like 7 feet tall and you can't teach that. But he gives him nothing. And then as for Lee Moriarty, he says that he'll target the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, and that's so low of a title. That's like a nothing title right now. He went from Ring of Honor Championship to the Pure title. Come on. Are we supposed to be impressed with this goal? Like, the one with the biggest goal here is the fucking ass boys. Of course. Most over guys in this entire faction. And then the best part of this entire thing happens when he calls them like men, and then the crowd start chanting ass men. And then he says something weird about like them leaving their father's shadow, but the crowd chants ass men at them, and that's their father's nickname. So that was like unintentionally funny. And then for the highest potential, I'm sorry, like it's not Morrissey, it's Ethan Page, but they should have let him talk because Stokely just points him to the All Atlantic Championship. And again, low fucking goal. And yeah, Ethan Page can cut a fucking promo. So why not let him speak for himself? Stokely was running on fumes like when he got to Page. So yeah, this is like a pretty big miss for this faction. It already makes them pretty unimportant. And they're just a mercenary faction just like the Factory. And the only thing setting them apart is that we've seen these guys on TV more. So yeah, they are treading a thin line here. They're threading a fine line into like making this faction be okay and making them a jobber faction like the Factory. So yeah, hopefully it works out for them, but this was a bad second impression. They should have been with MJF as his boys, like permanent basis. And if it were me, I would have had like each of them speak for themselves. Stokely just started out. Maybe like have Morrissey target the TNT title. As for like revenge when Wardlow squashed him, have Lee go for the All Atlantic Championship or the Ring of Honor World Championship. Have the Ass Boys go for the Tag Team Championships, of course. And then have Ethan Page go for the ROH title. And yeah, okay, it's much better if Ethan Page goes for the ROH title. Claudio can carry him through a good match, a great match even. But yeah, those goals set by Stokely were just like so low. This was the best opportunity also to like give Wardlow a proper opponent. So yeah, a lot of misses here. I don't like this faction now. They've lost all their heat from the pay-per-view. And I have to say that Tony Khan cut the shit. So after this is Jungle Boy versus Jay Lethal. So Jay Lethal is the one who accepted Jungle Boy's like a contract for a match. And this is because Christian is still injured. I don't know how he was injured. This was a bit weird because he didn't really do anything crazy. But yeah, we have the match between Jay Lethal and Jungle Boy, and it was pretty boring. It was like an average TV match, a TV undercard match. It's a lot worse than the last one because here they just try to work on each other. They work on Jungle Boy's back. The selling was very consistent. Like Jungle Boy sold on offense. But like the things they do, it's like they didn't accelerate, they didn't increase gear by the end of the match at all. Like Jungle Boy went for an outside dive, but was stopped by Satnam Singh. And this could have like brought the crowd up from being too quiet, but Satnam Singh blocks him and they don't go through with it. And people have been saying that why the hell is Jay Lethal going up against like this dude who's like not bigger than his own legs? And I was surprised that Jungle Boy was like taller than Jay Lethal. So if the dude just bulks up, he will be like a bigger star. But yeah, this match was like very slow. It's sort of the match that I don't like. The working on the limbs or like on Jungle Boy's back wasn't even submission moves. It was more like just common, like just stepping on the back, and that's like so bad. I hate it when that happens. It's 2022. This is not the Attitude Era where you could just like do punches and that's the match. And Jay Lethal goes for his like second rope Russian leg sweep, but the crowd doesn't react. They've been turned off by the start of the match. These are AEW fans, by the way. They expect show stealers at least once in the show, so why not just go for a show stealer? And also, whenever Jay Lethal did something, they were like so quiet. They love Jungle Boy, so why not just like have Jungle Boy do something in the match. Have it be evenly matched. Have it be like a counter fest. Wake the crowd up. But I do like the counters to the snare trap. Like both of them. The one from the boot and the one from a figure 4 leg lock. So that's going to be in spots of the match. But as for the ending, so Jungle Boy counters the boot with like a snare trap. Jay Lethal reaches the ropes. Jungle Boy pulls him back. Sanjay Dutt goes for the distraction. Jungle Boy knocks him off of the ropes. Jay Lethal goes for the O'Connor roll. Jungle Boy kicks out. Jay goes for a figure 4 leg lock. Jungle Boy counters it into a snare trap and then gets the tap out win. So for spots of the match, there's really not much. It's just the counter to the figure 4 leg lock to the snare trap. He like spins him into this, locks it on, wins the match. And so yeah, this match is like TV undercard only. It's not as good as the first match. Both matches weren't really like main event quality. They were like so made for TV. And I think Tony Khan or like maybe the wrestlers themselves are trying to like follow the philosophy where the undercard matches have to be like meh in order to make the main event shine more. And no, I don't like this philosophy. Every match should be good. If you can't do a show stealer match, then just have one with like storytelling, just like Mox and Punk. Or like have interesting stuff happen. And so after this, we get this training sort of video with Hook and Action Bronson. And you know what? Action Bronson, really good promo. And these two guys made themselves look really strong in this video. And we get a Hook speaking moment. And his voice is kind of weird. His accent is like super deep New York. And I think he has to work on his like promo voice. But yeah, this was pretty good. It's like number 2 segment of the night next to MJF's. And then we have number 3 segment of the night that comes after. And it's Alex Marvez like introducing fucking Luigi Primo, the pizza guy in all of those viral wrestling videos. And holy shit, I popped hard for this. And come on, if you don't like Luigi Primo, just remember, we had the Repo Man before. We had like Bastion Booger. We had like all of those occupational gimmicks. Even The Undertaker. The Big Boss Man, the Mountie, Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah, and then now we have Luigi Primo. Gets his time to shine for a couple of seconds until he's booted in the face by Ethan Page. And so Ethan Page hates everything that's like not serious in AEW, including Luigi Primo, who sadly I think will not show up again. And then Danhausen shows up. Then he mentions that he had a win in AEW Dark, so good for Danhausen. But then Ethan Page calls him the jester of AEW and then challenges him to a match on Rampage. And yeah, Danhausen is probably gonna get squashed again. Hopefully not. Hopefully like he puts up a fight. The match is like 5 minutes and then Ethan Page wins, of course. Yeah, great promo work by Ethan Page. Danhausen could have had a nice promo if the sound was a lot better. I don't know if Alex Marvez holds the mic too far away, but Danhausen's voice wasn't very clear. Like Luigi Primo, who did not have a microphone, who like where the microphone was like further away from him, sounded a lot better than Danhausen, unfortunately. But yeah, highlight of the show, Luigi Primo, and of course Ethan Page's promo. And so after this, we get the weirdest segment of the night. And it's like Darby Allin's like extreme sports thing where he rides a small bike and then like tries to get over a wall. He eventually does this. He gets a flip and then this is actually like really cool. But what the fuck is this doing here? They use it to set up like a match between him and Matt Hardy. And yeah, this feels very like Velocity-like. It doesn't feel like a good setup for a story. It's just Matt Hardy defending the Hardy Boys' honor, like Team Extreme, from I don't know what. But yeah, Darby did a cool thing. That was a nice fucking flip. But this is nowhere near segment of the night. So after this is the customary squash match. This time it's Powerhouse Hobbs against like a small New Yorker. He ends the match with a spine buster, but that's not where the most interesting part of this whole thing happens. So Hobbs then cuts a promo, and then we see that he's bleeding from the mouth. And then he cuts a promo as he's like clearly bleeding from the mouth. It's not as good as his like promo with Starks when they were still teammates, but it's alright. He says he wants to move on from Ricky. He then says his catchphrase, but then it's like super clear. He's bleeding from the mouth. And Ricky Starks shows up and then like they fight. And I think this is supposed to be like a blood capsule that he bites after Ricky Starks attacks him to make Starks look strong. But he botches this. And it looks like the jobber made him bleed. He botched this and fucking bit into the capsule too early. And Starks doesn't even say anything. Just shows up, attacks Hobbs, and then they have a stare down. I mean, like, what claim does Starks have in like challenging Hobbs into a match after losing so convincingly to him at the pay-per-view? So yeah, in my opinion, they should have just like moved on from this whole thing. The first match left a bad taste in our mouths, and hopefully this next match is better, but the heat has definitely been lost through this entire thing. So after this is the tag team championship match between Swerve in Our Glory and the Lucha Brothers. And so this match is to just give Keith and Swerve a win, make them look strong when they lose the titles at Grand Slam against the Acclaimed. But yeah, this match was really good. It's the show stealer that I wanted. And it maintains like a moderate to fast pace like all throughout. Like the Albany crowd was like quiet for this one at the start, but they managed to bring them in after they go for like some crazy stuff at the start. A Hurricane Rana to Phoenix by Swerve as he's like on the ropes, and a dropkick to Keith Lee's Gooch, which was pretty funny. The commentators pointed this out and they really sold it well. But I love like the dynamic here between the Lucha Bros and Keith Lee because I don't think they've wrestled like a big dude before. Like a big dude in a tag team match. So they try to compensate for their size with their agility, and they managed to like kick Keith Lee's ass for a while. They managed to cut the ring in half. Keith Lee's like the weaker member here, and that shot to the Gooch really did a number on Keith Lee. But then Keith Lee hulks up, he manages to regain control by himself. He tags in Swerve, and then now it's their time. It's their turn to cut the ring in half. And Keith Lee does a pretty cool gory special. It's like instead of the usual gory special, both arms of the dude are like on one side of Swerve. Really good spot, probably top 3. And then so Penta is hot tagged in, he beats everyone up, and then he hits Swerve with this like package move. I forgot what this is called. It looks like a package pile driver, but it's more of like a power bomb. So yeah, it's like a package power bomb. Goes for the pin. But then like Keith Lee, after catching Ray Phoenix, who was doing an outside dive, he like lawn dart throws him to the pin and then breaks it up. Might be 1 or 2 spot of the match. And this was a well-deserved "this is awesome" chant. And then we get a spot where Penta is like pulling on Swerve as he's going for the tag. I love this spot here, and it's criminally underused in tag team matches. They do this, he gets the hot tag on Keith Lee, and then they beat everyone up. And then I think we get number 1 spot of the match. And it's the spot where Swerve and Our Glory go for their finisher. But then Phoenix like interrupts this. He hits Swerve with like an avalanche Spanish fly. And then like he falls on top of Swerve, so this creates like a platform. And then Penta hits Keith Lee with a Canadian Destroyer. The crowd is on their feet. This like difficult to please crowd is like all over this match. And then they go for their finisher, but Swerve, in a nice like you get what you fucking deserve moment, pushes Phoenix off of the top. Keith Lee counters Penta and then delivers like a fireman carry press slam for the win. Great match. Best match so far, no question. This is like a pay-per-view only undercard match. This is the sort of match that should open shows because it really brings people in. Or this should have gone on second. But hopefully this brought people in because this was like fire right here. So for the spots of the match, number 3, I'm changing it up. It's the dropkick to Keith Lee's Gooch that he sold really well. Number 2 spot is the lawn dart pin breakup by Keith Lee on Penta, who's like pinning Swerve. And then the number 1 spot of the match is the avalanche Spanish fly and then the supported Canadian Destroyer by the Lucha Bros on Swerve in Our Glory. So yeah, great match. But I do have a problem with having the newly crowned Trios champions just take a loss. It could have been someone else and it would have been fine. Hell, if the Young Bucks weren't suspended, it could have been the Young Bucks. Or if, like, you wanted to punish them, just have them lose against Keith and Swerve. Like, why even go for the suspension anyway? Just, like, have them lose all their matches. So, yeah. But after this, Max Caster starts a rap, but then tells the producer, the sound guy, to, like, stop the music. And then he cuts a promo. It's not a very deep promo. It's just Max Caster insulting Swerve. He says he's nut hugging every famous person he knows. And then basically he just says that they'll win the tag team championships. And the crowd goes wild. I think more because the Acclaimed are over and not because of what Max Caster said. It's not really that groundbreaking, but it gets the pop. And yeah, Anthony Bowens does his thing. He makes a Drake and Josh reference and then he scissors Daddy Ass. So yeah, that match is going to be sick. Hopefully it has the same effect. And hopefully the crowd are a lot better than the people in Albany. Okay, so after this, we have a backstage interview after Lucha Bros lost. So Alex Marvez interviews Pac, and he like states facts. It's like a bog standard interview. And then thankfully, Orange Cassidy like knocks him out. It's like the fakest looking punch. It doesn't look convincing, but this knocks Pac out with like eyes wide open. This looks so funny. But the crowd pop for Orange. This is the first time he's attacked someone ever, I think. And especially like a babyface-ish character like Pac. He knocks him out and then he says, "So you're the double champion, huh?" Not for long. And I would love for Orange Cassidy to beat Pac just so that Ethan Page can face someone who's not very serious. But yeah, Pac should be beaten by someone else and not clean, because when he loses this, if he loses this, I don't think it's gonna help him. We didn't really get to see him on TV with the title. So I think Pac should like hold this for like a couple of more months and then drop it, just to like fully establish him with the belt. So yeah, great segment. Punch looked shitty, but Orange is over. And he gets the cheers. So yeah, after this we get like a pre-match promo by Toni Storm and Athena. They cut it on Britt Baker, and they rag on her being a dentist on weekends that makes her useless. I disagree. She's actively helping people and she should be a babyface because of that. But yeah, they make a lot of dental references. Toni Storm is a really good promo, as well as like Athena, who stole the show here. And yeah, I'm happy that they're giving Athena the TV time after she lost to Jade. But kind of sad that Shida has been taken out. But yeah, for the next match, it's Britt Baker and Serena Deeb against Toni Storm and Athena. So for this match, I think Toni Storm is right where she belongs. She's like a good tag team wrestler, but as for a singles wrestler, she's not there yet. As seen last week against Penelope Ford, and then many times before. But as a tag wrestler, it hides her flaws. But as for Athena, Athena's just like so good on her own, whatever the circumstance. I think she should be like a champion or something, because she was awesome in this match. Like the shit she pulls, from the splash she does to enter the match, to the drop kick that she does, the one with so much force that it's like the most believable looking drop kick aside from Okada's. And then to this awesome like power bomb, like sort of lung blower, but instead of like hitting the opponent's back, she like spins around Serena Deeb and then gets like a code breaker finish to the move. And Serena Deeb, great technician. She's also like really good 1v1, and I think she made Toni Storm look really good. But as for in-ring charisma, that's what Britt Baker is there for. And her and Rebel really helped with Serena Deeb's in-ring charisma. She showed a bit of personality here. And then so we get the next phase of the match, the slow phase, and I think they really built to this when Serena Deeb like works on Athena's leg and then Athena sells it so consistently. What a great fucking wrestler. Like the full package except the height, but that's not really important if you're a female wrestler. So then the heels cut the ring in half. They beat the shit out of Athena, work on her leg some more. We get an Indian deathlock, and then tag out Toni Storm. And yeah, I think I know how to describe Toni Storm now. She's like not the best psychologist in the ring. She needs a ring general to like make her look better. But her in-ring charisma is like all there. If she just leans into this more, we can forget some of like the slow and plodding moments of her matches. So she works so well as a hot tag, and her move where she like does an outside tornado DDT works so well as a hot tag. But when she like gets tired in singles matches, not so much. And so they tag out. Athena gets tagged in. She goes 1v1 with Serena Deeb, and shit. Athena MVP of the match. Some great selling, also some great moves. And we get like one spot of the match when she like goes for like a springboard sort of crossbody moves that Serena Deeb turns into a Jujikatami. And my god, man, I can't believe the crowd didn't cheer for this. They just clapped, but this was one of the best spots of the match. When she lifts Serena Deeb up, she almost gets like a powerbomb off, but Deeb rolls her up. Athena manages to get away, and then she meteors the shit out of Deeb. Great sequence. And then when she tags out to Toni Storm, Deeb like locks Toni Storm in like a single leg crab. Athena kicks her. Deeb like no sells this. Then Britt Baker like super kicks the shit out of Athena. It takes her out. She then super kicks Storm, and then seeing that Toni can't tap out physically, Deeb does like a technical pin on Toni, and then Athena goes for like a senton again. Great sequence. But then Britt takes Athena out, throws her into the steel steps, and this takes Athena out of the match. And then as for the finish, Deeb tries to go for the Deeb Talks. Rebel distracts Paul Turner, the referee. Britt then brings out a steel chair. Deeb pushes Toni into the chair, knocks her out, rolls her up, and then wins the match 1-2-3. Okay, so I thought this was going to build up a feud between Deeb and Storm, but we later find out that the match at Grand Slam is going to be a four-way involving all of these women right here. And I think Tony Khan noticed what I noticed, that the crowd seems to respond well to like multi-women matches. And the match quality is also better because their flaws are hidden. You can have like a ring general there to like call the match, and they don't get as tired as they do when they like go for like 20-minute long matches. They start botching. So yeah, I think that will end up being the better match. But story-wise, since Deeb pinned Storm, it would make sense if like they'll have a 1v1 feud. Or else like what's the point of pinning Toni Storm? If you just have everyone else in the match go for the title next week. Like why not just hold off? Or like just have the 1v1 next week. Yeah, this is some pretty shitty booking right here. I think Jade should have like been the women's feud if they had one next week on Dynamite. And this should have been held like a little bit longer, like have a longer feud. But I'm not completely against Toni Storm getting pinned. But with the way they're booking Grand Slam, that's where the problem rises up. I really think there should have been a feud between Serena Deeb and Toni Storm instead of like four-way. And then Athena, not to be outdone, attacks the heels from behind. This is fucking awesome right here. This woman here should be women's champion because she's like a full package. She's like a more exciting wrestler. I mean, not technically, she's like a high flyer, but she can also cut promos with like passion. So yeah, thank God for this. This is like the right choice to make Athena look strong and come out on top even after defeat. But then of course, Britt Baker super kicks her, delivers a curb stomp, and it looks so good. Athena's such a good seller. She's like now the best seller and Ruby's number 2. She also might be the best wrestler in that entire women's division. So don't fuck her up, Tony Khan. So then Britt like sets Toni up to get destroyed, but then Jamie Hayter shows up. She takes the share. She like seemingly saves Toni Storm, but then she hits her with a chair. Everyone's confused. And if you don't like depth in your programming, you might hate this, but it's definitely depth. She still hates the shit out of Toni Storm. She still is not like a full face. She actually feels like a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, but she's also not cool with Britt. They don't shake hands in the end. She hates everyone. She's like a stone cold type of character. And to add to this, it took like referees to like restrain her She didn't look strong by any means, but she looked like a bad bitch. She's like what Jade Cargill wishes she would be, and she's more of like an anti-hero. So this builds up to the feud between her and Britt. They don't touch. I don't think they even like did offensive moves on each other like in the pay-per-view. Like they haven't touched. They're like saving this for the match. And it's really cool. This match and this segment, I don't know, maybe it's like I don't know, wait, shit. It might be the best match on the show so far. And this segment here did a lot for the feud. So yeah, this is a TV show main event, pay-per-view undercard match. Like in quality, the Swerve in Our Glory versus Lucha Brothers match is like objectively better. But I enjoyed this even more because of like the match itself plus the segment after with Jamie. So after this, we have the Mark Sterling and Tony Nese and Josh Woods feud against Samoa Joe. And you know what? Josh Woods looks like a really badass sort of dude. And I don't know how like Wheeler beat him. I think he looked smaller before he lost the title. But this guy looks like he can actually beat Joe. He's like jacked. He has like a nice tooth accessory. His personality suits a killer. And so yeah, hopefully he doesn't get squashed by Joe. That's the best I can hope for. So yeah, after this we get the matches at Rampage on Friday and both of the Grand Slam shows next week. So first for Rampage, we have Samoa Joe versus Josh Woods. This is like an hour show and hopefully I can review it. Next is Danhausen versus Ethan Page. This should be a short one. Hausen is probably gonna get buried again. He's gonna get squashed. Next is Penelope Ford against Willow Nightingale. Penelope Ford is in the decline, while Willow Nightingale was okay the last time. And then for the next match, it's like a poorly built match between Darby Allin and Matt Hardy. I don't get the motivations here, and this is a pass. And so for Dynamite Grand Slam, of course, we have the Moxley against Danielson match. Spoilers for the main event, by the way. And then Swerve in Our Glory versus The Acclaimed, and we're finally gonna get The Acclaimed winning the titles. So I just wish the match will feel as special as the one at the pay-per-view. After this is the four-way match. That doesn't make sense to book. It's like it's just there for the match quality and not for the story. Serena Deeb pinned Toni Storm, and I think she should get the title match one-on-one. This isn't fair. But if Athena wins, I'll have no complaints. She's their best woman on the roster, in selling and in moves. And on promos, she's pretty up there. And then for the last match, it's Pac against Orange Cassidy for the All-Atlantic Championship. Pac should win, and the All-Atlantic Championship should get more TV time, but one could only hope, and that's probably not gonna happen. And then on Rampage Grand Slam, it's Action Bronson and Hook against 2.0. So it's 100% sure that Hook and Bronson are gonna win, but I would like to see Bronson wrestle a match because I think he could be a wrestler. He looks the part, he can cut a promo, and he certainly can cut a promo better than Hook can. But yeah, this should be on Rampage to draw viewers. And so, for the main event, Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson for the semi-final tournament match to face against Jon Moxley at next week's Grand Slam. Okay, so we have like 28 minutes, about like that much time for the main event. The match starts at 1:39, and they started off faster than their match at the pay-per-view. They go for like more exciting rather than technical, and I think this is the right choice. You can't have two matches feeling samey, especially if the previous one was pretty bad. So Bryan Danielson dominates the first part of the match. He does so many things within the first 2 minutes that it makes you think, why the hell not do this in the pay-per-view? That could have been a lot better if it was this. And they do go technical from 140 onwards, but the technical wrestling they do here is with purpose and not just to look as good as like Zack Sabre Jr. Danielson does this with purpose, and he works on Jericho's arm with strike and submission. So Jericho then gains control for the first time at 1:43, And I don't like how he's not selling his arm. Why do people give these old wrestlers passes to not sell? And they hate the younger wrestlers for actually selling. Just like Matt Jackson, just like Hangman Page. It's stupid old wrestling fan bias. They then have a strike battle where Danielson wins and ends in like a crash and burn where they like try to crossbody each other and they like bounce off each other. And then they maintain a moderate pace. They do some big moves, including like an avalanche Hurricane Rana by Jericho. And then Danielson answers back with a cowl mutilation. That turns into BCC elbows, and then when Jericho hits the BCC elbows himself, Danielson just no-sells it. And then they have a third strike battle. It's more Danielson dominated, but I like the counter with the Codebreaker by Jericho. This isn't a strong move anymore though, because it doesn't finish off people. And I think that's the right move because as an old man, how much can your knees really do to like finish someone? It's like Keiji Muto. His Shining Wizards right now are like terrible. Same with Jericho. But his Codebreaker doesn't look bad, but it definitely shouldn't finish people anymore. This makes Danielson groggy. He goes back to the side of like the turnbuckle and then he hits the Busai Kuni. But then they have a fourth strike battle with the rope separating them. Jericho's on the apron, Danielson inside the ring. Danielson then tries to suplex Jericho into the ring. But then Jericho like launches him outside. And then he lands on his feet outside. And then it looked like he hurt his left foot. And he sold it so convincingly. He sold it like by not making any noise. Like by making it look legit. By like trying to remove his like shoe or like his foot pad, his kick pads. That I actually believe that he was injured. This is a genius sell by Danielson. But then Chris Jericho works on the foot and then we know he's okay. And like he works on this hard. He even delivers like a figure four leg lock through the post. And this just adds to the drama of the match. Jericho keeps working on Danielson's foot in the ring. And Danielson is just so consistent with his selling. It's a marvel to witness. And then he goes for like one of the spots of the match. He tries to go for a Busai Kuni with one leg. And he doesn't even come close to hitting the move. This was amazing. He just falls down and is caught by Chris Jericho in the walls of Jericho. But then I like the attention to detail where Chris Jericho turns it into a Boston Crab instead. And then into a figure four leg lock. In order to like more focus his attack on Danielson's left foot. And then we have like them both in the figure four leg lock. And we can feel Danielson's pain. But then they like have a strike battle while in the leg lock. Danielson goes for like a turnaround. But instead he sees Jericho's exposed left arm. He grabs onto this and then he turns this into a label lock that like happens really slowly. He does a lot of adjustments. It turns into like a dynamic submission to get the win. Because he does like a lot of things to Jericho while in the label lock. He delivers hits to his head, he pulls on his nostrils, and then he finally gets it on, he locks it on 100%, and then he gets Jericho to tap. Fucking great match. It's pay-per-view undercard only, and it is the best match of the night. Like, the only things that we're missing in this is, like, a louder crowd reaction, like a lot better moves, maybe some longer submissions, some better strikes, because the strikes from the figure four leg lock were pretty shit. But yeah, the finish was awesome, and so was the match. So yeah, for top 3 spots, number 3 is the Hurricane Rana from Jericho. Highest impact spot of the match, and impressive if you consider Jericho's age. For number 2 spot is the way Danielson sold his injured foot. He sells this realistically. He just doesn't like yell out and stuff. He actually pretends like it's hurt for real. And then for the number 1 spot of the match, it's the finish. From when Danielson got this on when he grabbed onto Jericho's arm, to the label lock being a dynamic submission move, dude just pulls on Jericho's nose, does strikes on him from this position, and then he makes him tap. Awesome ending. And so after the match, Jon Moxley shows up, and they have a stare down. And Danielson just keeps selling the foot. So they stare down, and this like Jim Cornette fan wearing the shirt, this fat piece of shit who looks like he lives in a basement, wearing an America jacket, has been lifting this CM Punk owns the Young Bucks sign. And it's pretty fucking annoying. He's hijacking the show. He brought front row tickets to spread the word of Jim Cornette. And people are saying he's like triggering all of the people who live in their mother's basements, those fat neckbeards. But the dude is a fucking fat neckbeard himself. And the guy is pretty much an asshole. And he does like sort of look awkwardly at the camera. He then like realizes he's a dick and he puts away the sign. Yeah, Cornette fan, he has no woman near him. Congratulations. You bought front row tickets to not enjoy a show. Like, even through some of the best matches of the night, the guy just stayed quiet. What a motherfucker. Cornette's probably gonna pay you to fuck his wife now, so yeah, congratulations. So yeah, this episode of Dynamite had a pretty shit first hour, in my opinion. And all of the good matches happened at the second hour. But just the booking, man. The people who got pinned or like were put in those positions to lose weren't supposed to. Like, there was no reason to. Lucha Bros are champions and then they get pinned by other champions. Toni Storm is the women's champion and then she gets pinned by one specific woman. But then the match becomes a fatal four-way, which doesn't make sense. It could have been a 1v1 feud. That would have made all the sense in the world. You could have also had that match at Grand Slam 1v1, Toni Storm against Serena Deeb. But of course, since Tony Khan doesn't give a shit about the women, he doesn't have faith in them anymore, he puts them in a four-way match to hide their flaws. So yeah, just terrible decisions made in the second hour. Some terrible segments like the Firm segment, that was just shit. Like, that first hour was carried by MJF. And the second hour was carried by everyone else with those great matches. So yeah, this episode of Dynamite isn't like terrible. I think this is more of like, alright, this is like an okay Dynamite. And my god, they better hit next week or else, holy shit. So yeah, here are my match rankings. Just pause if you want to like ponder on them. Like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you do not know me. Hit that bell notification for future videos. And please, watch my shit.